Hello everyone, 76 Patriot here, and today I want to briefly analyze the current state of the presidential race in Arizona and why I believe, at least as of right now, that President Trump is in the driver's seat to carry his 11 votes, 11 electoral votes this November. So without further ado, we're just going to dive in and do kind of a case study of an individual race like I normally would. And by the way, feel free, guys, to sound off in the comments if there's a better way you think I could be analyzing these kind of one-off individual races. But regardless, as of right now, let's go back to the Bush era, and we can see that Bush won by over 10. Arizona has a penchant for moderate Republicans. McCain, who's basically an institution in the state, couldn't get much more of a household name, only won by 8.5, which is a bit of an underperformance. Romney bounced back a little bit. Then we can see here comes the rapid decline for the GOP. Trump, and I always forget in 2016, this is often overshadowed, I feel like, by the states that Trump flipped. But Trump only won by just over 3 points, which is kind of crazy because with third parties in the ballot, who knows if he would have even won it. But regardless, and then of course, the infamous Biden victory in 2020, and they don't show raw vote margins in this website, but it's about 11,000 votes, I believe. And we can debate election integrity and how that played a role. I believe it certainly did into that margin. But regardless, there are some dramatic swings also happening in the state. So the real question is, can Donald Trump overcome that this year and flip this back into kind of the traditional Republican column, at least, if not for the foreseeable future, for 2024? And basically, we need to look at what in the world is going on with the state of Arizona. So as we can see, basically Arizona has not gone by double digits since like 2004 or whatever we saw. And we can see basically Maricopa is the heart and soul of the state when it comes to population, when it comes to influence, when it comes to raw votes. You need to do well in Maricopa. And there is, you can lose Maricopa narrowly if you max out all these exurban and suburban and rural counties. So basically we can see Maricopa is 14. This is actually fast forward a couple. We can see it's 10 by Romney's time. And there we go. When Trump comes on the scene in 2016, it's less than a 3-point victory. And that's kind of crazy, honestly, how rapidly, and some of that's due to explosive Phoenix growth. There may be other reasons as well. But basically, the whole Phoenix metro area has literally blown up. It's one of the fastest growing cities in the whole nation. And that has definitely played an influence. I think you had a lot of liberal Californians moving there. You got a lot of other liberal people from the north moving there. And we can see in 2020, it actually flipped finally for the first time in a long time, Democrat. And Biden still only won it by 2, but that was enough to push the state into his column. So basically, actually, before we get into that, let's look, before we look at how Trump could win, let's actually look at some, just a couple kind of recent races. So we can see the Senate race in 2022 went Democrat by about 5 points, which is kind of crazy, honestly. We can debate candidate quality here, but regardless, this is not a good thing for the GOP. Same thing with the governor's race, and Kari Lake almost won. I mean, it was such a squeaker victory, but regardless, this is not a good look for the Republican Party. They've lost at mostly every statewide race except for treasurer in the midterms, and they've just been doing absolutely, getting pummeled in the state. But before we kind of, end on a downer here, let's go through a lot of kind of the data to see what's going to happen this year. So in 2016, polling basically showed, polling was pretty spot on actually, slightly overestimated Trump, but just by a little bit. In the RCP average, he's up by 4, he won by 3.5. 2020, actually, this is the opposite overestimation for Biden. They thought he was going to win by around 0.9, and he won by 0.3. What a squeaker victory. And so 2024, polling has had Trump up significantly, which is crazy at this point. Arizona, this day in history, Biden was up by, this is actually yesterday as of the time of this recording, but regardless, Biden was up by nearly 3 points. Clinton was up by half a point. So we'll see. Trump's lead could even grow in the state if we're basing it on historical polling precedent, if you will. But regardless, and then of course when you involve other parties, Kennedy and other candidates in, his lead even balloons up to 6.4. So this is absolutely crazy. I think third parties on the ballot would absolutely help Trump in Arizona. So again, polling, you as we can see, polling is not everything, but regardless, this is a fantastic look for Trump. I mean, heck, even if he lost, he had to shave for whatever reason 5 points off of that margin. He's so far up that he would still eke out a narrow victory in the polling average. So with that out of the way, basically that kind of looks like Trump is in a good position. But polling aside, let's look at the fundamentals, a little bit of Arizona itself. And Arizona is a state, and I actually forgot to bring up the Cook PVI, and I believe the PVI for Arizona is around 2. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I looked at it the other day, and I believe it's 2. So it has a Republican lean of 2 points. And so we can see, it's quite an electoral prize compared to even a state like Nevada or something like that. 11 is nothing to sneeze at, and it's rated a toss-up. And many pundits have it like that, although some recently moved it to the lean Republican column, which is a good sign, I think. And basically, we can see it's traditionally gone Republican in presidential elections. It's definitely not a part of the historic blue wall or anything like that. And, so it's not a fundamentally Democratic state. It's just you have a lot of moderates, a lot of squishy moderates. You have kind of a lot of Republican Biden voters. You're going to have quite a few of those people, which is such a weird breed in my opinion, but they exist a lot in Arizona. You're McCain, Biden voter. But regardless, we can see that, basically Democratic margins have actually since 2000 stayed at around 45 and went up since then. However, Republican margins have decreased basically over the past years. And this is something that is kind of sad, particularly due to migrants. We could say illegals as well, but I'm thinking particularly from within the United States and from other states that have basically completely changing its demographic. Instead of the wild kind of West state that it was known as before, it's now basically made up of giant cities that are huge Democrat vote sinks. And can Trump overcome that? You look at his governor history, a little bit mixed there. But regardless, it's had Republican senators for a long time, sadly, except for the past couple of years. But at its core, it doesn't have the history that a state, even say Michigan has or Wisconsin has, of kind of the labor unions and demographically favorable to Democrats. It just doesn't. And if we actually look at the election shuffler, one of my favorite websites, this is a fun one, we can actually kind of play a little game and kind of estimate what would it take for Trump to win the state. So of course we can see actually if I go back, it was an 11,000 vote, I'm a bit wrong. Oh, there's a 10,000 vote margin, which is absolutely insane. It was the second narrowest state, I believe, in 2020. And if we actually look at Maricopa, so Maricopa voted Democratic by just over 2 points. So if we shift this, let's just say 1 point to the right, literally 1 point. It's still going blue, but let's just say 1 point. That's it. Trump wins. Now, obviously, this is assuming that there isn't a lot of crazy left-wingers that have gone even more liberal since then. It's possible, and we could talk about illegal immigration and bad election laws in Arizona. Sadly, is a state that has not really seen any improvements, certainly scant improvements regarding that since 2020. But just on its face, let's say Maricopa stays stagnant, or in this case, moves to the right by 1 point. Trump would win by around 10,000 votes, we can see, which is crazy that this county has that much sway, but that's, it does. Now, here's the thing though. Let's say that Maricopa stays stagnant. I'm not going to say it moves to the left. I just don't think that's possible in this year. Stranger things have happened, but in this election year where Trump is doing better with Hispanics, doing better with working class voters, doing better basically across the board, I just don't see a scenario in which this county kind of rapidly keeps moving to the left. I could be wrong, but I don't see that. Let's say it stays stagnant. Here's the thing. Trump would really need to maximize all these other counties and basically do exceptionally well. because these counties are not, I mean, they're nothing to laugh at. You need to keep these counties red, but they're not going to deliver you a victory. So let's just say all these counties, there's like a 5-point shift to the right. And I'm not saying that won't happen, because if you actually look between 2016 and 2020, a lot of these counties did that. So there you can see, actually, he did win. So he would win by 11,000. If all those counties shifted to the right by like 5, it would be much easier just to kind of depend on Maricopa, if you will, which can be not a great thing due to shoddy election infrastructure. But regardless, looking good for Donald Trump in the state of Arizona, again, provided that Maricopa doesn't move to the left. So basically, back to where we started. Can Trump do it? I would say yes, and I'm going to be real with you all. If there's a state that I could see having some kind of a shock like crazy, even in such a good environment for Republicans, it still kind of just snapped and went left anyways, defied the trends, it would probably be Arizona. Michigan, I could see staying blue. It's kind of had a long history of that. I don't think it will at the moment, but I could see it. Arizona's a state, though, that I could see because of its weird left-wing trend recently. It could. However, I don't think so. I think Trump's probably going to win it by about a point, maybe more. I just think the polling is a bit generous, honestly, at this point. I just really don't see how Trump could win it by 6. I would absolutely love to believe that, and I'm not saying he can't. I'm just saying, as of right now, the state is seemingly going off a cliff. I don't know if that's possible. But regardless, I still think that Trump is the favorite to win. I mean, I'd rather be him than Biden in the state for sure. So that's basically all there is to this video. I hope that this was of some interest and maybe hopefully informative as well. And again, guys, let me know in the comments if you think there's a better way I should kind of analyze these one-off presidential races. But that's it for this one. Again, hope you all enjoyed. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a great day.